I'd rather be homeless than pretend in bed with you. My wife said that out loud. So I built her a cardboard suite on the front lawn and let the whole neighborhood watch. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Listen up, guys. I'm about to drop a truth bomb that'll make your pathetic problems look like a damn picnic. This mind fudge of a situation showed me exactly what kind of spine I had buried under years of yes dear bullshit. I'd been married to my 32 male wife, 29 female for 5 years. Thought we had a decent thing going. Not perfect. No marriages, but, solid. I was playing the good husband role to a T, supported her through 3 career changes, teacher to corporate to wellness coach, held her hand through all that endless drama with her mom, and even stayed up countless nights when she went through those anxiety phases where she'd convince herself she had some rare disease she read about online. I covered like 80% of our bills cause her dream job paid absolute shit, cut back on my gym time, stopped hanging with the boys as much, and even turned down a sick job offer with more money but longer hours cause she needed me around more. I was all in, thinking we were building something together. A future, a partnership, the American dream, white picket fence, 2.5 kids, golden retriever, the whole package. And to be fair, in the beginning, she was good to me. Supportive, affectionate. She used to pack my lunch some days, would crash on the couch with me to binge whatever dumb series I was into, even left me little sticky notes on the mirror with stuff like, good luck today, or you've got this. Our home was warm back then. She made me feel wanted, like I mattered. But recently, something shifted along the way. Slowly, subtly. The note stopped. Movie nights turned into her scrolling through her phone with headphones in. The affection faded, and the bedroom felt like Antarctica. I'd be lucky to get a goodnight grunt, let alone anything more. The signs were there from the beginning if I'm being honest with myself. Little comments about how her ex was so spontaneous, or how her friend's husband surprises her with trips. But I figured every relationship had its issues. I was the stable one, the provider, the guy who'd always be there. Thought that counted for something? Man, was I wrong about that. Looking back now, yeah, there were things I probably should have questioned, like how she'd zone out a bit when I talked about long-term stuff, houses, savings, maybe starting a family one day. I figured she was just stressed about her job or wasn't ready to have those talks yet. Not everyone processes that kind of pressure the same way, but then there was the way she'd go all out for team meetings. Hair done, makeup on point, heels, even when they were supposedly virtual. Meanwhile, when we went out together, it was hoodies and yoga pants. I chalked it up to comfort. I mean, isn't that what they say? You get comfortable with the person you love. I didn't see any of it as a problem. I wasn't looking for problems. I was busy working, providing, keeping things stable, doing what a decent man's supposed to do. The only thing that really sat wrong with me was how she kept dodging any kind of physical closeness. First it was, I'm tired from work, then, I have a headache, then just flat rejections with no explanation, and I would respect that and back off. But it had gone from something we shared to something that suddenly felt optional, or worse, like a chore. So, about 6 months ago, I tried initiating with her one night. Nothing wild, just normal husband-wife stuff. She pulls back, sighs, and says, can we not do this right now? I'm just not feeling it lately. I ask her what's going on, and that's when she drops it, flat as ever. I don't want the intimate part anymore. I just want the marriage and stability. Just not that stuff. I just sat there, confused as hell, like what the hell? I tried to talk about it like a normal person, asked if there was something wrong, something I could do differently. She just rolled her eyes and said I was being too sensitive, and walked out. Left me sitting there like an idiot. For a week, I tried to figure out what was happening. Was she depressed? Was it something medical? Was it me? I even started showering twice a day and using that expensive cologne she bought me last Christmas that had been collecting dust. I brought home her favorite takeout, tried to start conversations about what might be wrong. She'd just shrug, say, nothing's wrong, and go back to scrolling on her phone. Classic gaslighting. But I didn't see it then. Few days later, I'm grabbing something from the kitchen when I overheard her on the phone with her sister in the living room. She thinks I'm still in the shower upstairs, water running as I'd just gotten out. I don't know. He's just not attractive to me anymore. I don't see him the way I used to. That first spark is gone. He's out of shape, boring, and doesn't bring anything new. Honestly, I can't even stand the way he smells when he gets close to me. I've already checked out. I'm only still here because the rent's cheap and moving is a pain. Then she freaking laughs about it. Like my existence, our marriage, is some kind of joke. Like the last 5 years of my life were just some convenient arrangement for her wallet. And my smell? That's what we're doing now? What exactly was it? My detergent? Or just the scent of someone who didn't cheat and pay the rent? I couldn't brush this shit off this time. I walked in, phone still to her ear, and she freezes. Hangs up quick. I ask her straight up what the hell that was about. She froze. What do you mean? Don't play dumb. You're telling your sister I'm disgusting. That I'm just a rent split. That you've checked out. Let's not pretend you were talking about a different husband. I said she got defensive. It was a private conversation. You shouldn't be listening in. Private or not, you said it. So say it to my face. My voice didn't rise. I wasn't begging. I wasn't broken. I was done being lied to. She scoffed, rolled her eyes like I was making a big deal out of nothing. God, you're being sensitive again. You tell your sister I repulse you, that you're only here for the rent, and I'm the sensitive one? That's when it cracked. She snapped, eyes wild, voice sharp. Fine. You want the truth? I've been faking it. Every time we've been intimate for years. And I'm tired of it. I just stood there, feeling like someone ripped something out of my chest. 5 years of my life suddenly felt like some elaborate prank. But then she delivers the line that changed everything. I'd rather be homeless than keep pretending in bed with you. That moment, something in me just switched off. Instead of begging or fighting, I just nodded and said, "That's quite a statement. Thanks for your honesty." I grabbed my pillow and moved to the guest room. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was upset, though I was, but because my brain was going into strategy mode. This wasn't just about intimacy. This was 5 years of disrespect, acting, and lies. 5 years of me giving everything while she was laughing behind my back. The next morning, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the guy staring back. When did my shoulders start slumping? When did I start avoiding eye contact with myself? When did I become this doormat? My dad would have been ashamed to see me like this. He always taught me about self-respect. Somehow along the line, I'd forgotten that lesson. But here's the thing. She wasn't always like this. That coldness, the distance, the eye rolls. That wasn't the woman I married. And as much as I tried to rationalize it, something about it didn't sit right. This wasn't just burnout or stress. It wasn't just a rough patch. There was something else in the air. Something I hadn't seen yet, but I could feel it. So in that moment, I made a decision. This wasn't going to be a typical divorce story where the dude gets railroaded, loses his shit, and spends the next decade bitter and broke. This was going to be a resurrection story. My resurrection story. I started simple. Made myself breakfast. Actual breakfast. Not just coffee and whatever snack bar was closest. Took a longer shower. Put on a decent shirt. Not the faded company swag I'd gotten used to wearing. Small steps. But it felt like I was waking up from a 5-year coma. The next morning, the air between us was different. Not tense, just hollow. Like we were roommates who barely liked each other. She moved around the house quieter than usual. Like she was testing how much I knew or how much I'd let go. And she actually said something at breakfast while I sat there eating my meal. "I didn't mean it like that," she muttered. I didn't respond. Because what does that even mean? She didn't mean to say she'd rather be homeless than be touched by me. She didn't mean to say I repulsed her, but in a nicer tone. She tried again later that day. I was just in a bad headspace. I didn't mean everything. It came out wrong. "Okay," I said, just to shut her up, and she moved on with it. She didn't know that from that moment I started watching her. Really watching. She was checking her phone constantly, smiling at messages. Screen would go dark the second I walked in. Working late became her new normal, always with some bullshit excuse about client deadlines or team building exercises. The way she'd come home with her hair slightly different than when she left, the subtle scent of someone else's cologne. Instead of confronting her like every fiber of my being wanted to, I watched. Thursday night, drinks with colleagues. Random hotel charges on our joint account that she'd explain away as conferences or workshops, all while maintaining this story about just not being into sex anymore. Right, because that's how human sexuality works. It just shuts off like a light switch, but only for your spouse. One night, I heard her in the bathroom on the phone when she thought I was asleep, whispering and giggling like a teenager. "I miss you too." "No, he's asleep. I wish I was with you right now." "Soon, baby. Soon." That was all I needed to hear. I didn't feel heartbroken anymore. I felt freaking clear finally. This wasn't about me being inadequate. This wasn't about her not feeling it anymore. This was about her being a liar and a cheat. The next day, I made my first moves. Withdrew half our savings. Not a penny more, I'm not a thief. Talked to a lawyer friend for recommendations. Started documenting everything. Late nights, hotel charges, phone calls. Created a separate email account just for this shit. Changed my important passwords. Set up a P.O. box for any sensitive mail. While I was grabbing her charger one day, I found a spare toothbrush in her purse. Brand new, still in packaging. When I asked about it, she didn't even blink. Sometimes I crash at work. You know how late it gets? Yeah, right. Because dental hygiene is the priority when you're pulling an all-nighter at a marketing firm. The casual way she lied to my face, not even a hint of guilt or hesitation, made me realize how much practice she'd had. One night while she was in the shower, I took her phone. She'd gotten sloppy, leaving it unlocked. What I found confirmed everything and made me going crazy for not noticing early on. Messages with a coworker going back months. Saved in her contacts as work wife, real subtle. Messages mocking me, saying shit like she had to endure being with me, and that I'm small in all ways that matters. Telling him, it was obviously a man, she'd rather be homeless than keep pretending. I don't know why she found that phrase so funny. She was joking to him about how she only stayed for the cheap rent and that I was her safety net, while she figured out her exit strategy. Even discussing how to let me down easy once she was financially secure enough to leave. I took screenshots of everything, sent them to my new email, then put her phone back exactly where I found it. She never noticed. She slept that night right next to the dude she was completely betraying, snoring lightly like she didn't have a care in the world. I laid there next to her, wide awake, staring at the ceiling. And for the first time, her smell was the one I couldn't stand. Not because of perfume or anything obvious, but because I knew what it was covering up now. The same woman who said I made her skin crawl was curled up in my bed like nothing was wrong. I felt sick. I knew filing for divorce would take time, papers, lawyers, logistics. That's not a one-day fix. But I wasn't going to just sit there stewing in it. I needed to move. I needed to put my energy somewhere that wasn't her. That same night, I made a quiet decision. I was reclaiming my life, started small. That same night, I made a decision. I was reclaiming my life, started small. Got back in the gym at 5 a.m. before work. Nothing crazy, just consistent. 3 days a week at first, then 5. Basic compound lifts, some cardio. The first week was brutal. Muscles I'd forgotten existed, screamed in protest, but it felt good. Real. Honest pain, not the bullshit emotional kind she'd been feeding me. Dusted off my old hobbies, fixing up my project car that had been sitting under a tarp in the garage for years. Started dressing better. Nothing flashy, just clothes that actually fit instead of the baggy comfort crap I'd fallen into wearing. Fixed my posture and became more open with people. Didn't do it for her. Did it for me. She barely noticed anyway. Too busy with her phone and late meetings. When she did notice, she seemed almost annoyed, like my self-improvement was some inconvenience to her narrative. "You're going to the gym again?" she'd ask, like I was the unreasonable one. "What's with the new clothes? Having a midlife crisis?" The projection was almost funny. Funny thing, people at work started treating me different. Got some attention from women for the first time in years. Nothing I acted on, but it was a wake-up call. This paralegal at my office started finding reasons to come by my desk. The barista at my usual coffee spot started drawing little designs in my latte. A woman in my building actually held the elevator for me one morning. Small thing, but it hadn't happened in ages. This older lady at the gym even offered me her protein shake mid-workout. "You look like you're working through something," she said with a knowing smile. "Whatever it is, it's working for you." Another chick asked if my wife minds if I smile this much. I just laughed it off. "She's got her own interests," I said. Truer than she knew. Meanwhile, I kept acting normal at home. Made casual conversation about bills, schedules, the usual domestic shit. She was getting confused by how chill I was being. I could see the wheels turning in her head. Why wasn't I begging for attention anymore? Why wasn't I following her around like a lost puppy? What had changed? "You seem different," she said one morning, looking suspicious while I was making eggs. "Been working out?" "Just accepted some truths about our situation," I replied, with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Want some coffee?" She studied me for a moment, trying to figure out if I knew something, then shrugged it off. "No, I'll grab something at work." Code for meeting the boss for breakfast. I knew now. After she left, I called in sick and executed the next phase. I opened a separate bank account and transferred exactly half our savings. Not a penny more, not a penny less. I wasn't going to be the asshole here. but I wasn't going to be a sucker either. Met with the best divorce attorney in the city, an older dude with a reputation for being ruthless but fair. Guy looked like your friendly grandpa but had shark eyes. Laid out all the evidence, her confession, proof of the affair, our assets. The attorney seemed impressed. Most clients come in emotional, unable to think straight, he said, flipping through the screenshots I'd organized chronologically. They want blood. I'm past emotions, I told him. I want solutions. And what's your ideal outcome here? He asked, leaning back in his chair. I want what's fair, I replied. Split the assets down the middle, clean break, minimal drama, but I don't want to be taken advantage of. The evidence of infidelity gives us leverage, he noted. We could push for more. I shook my head. I don't want more than my share. I just want respect, and I want her to face consequences for her choices. Interesting approach. Most men in your position would be out for blood, he said. I'm not most men, I said, and revenge is a waste of energy. We made a plan that was fair, but protected my interests. I didn't want revenge, I wanted respect. And sometimes respect comes from consequences. On my own terms. That evening, I installed cameras in our common areas. Totally legal as a homeowner. Not in private spaces, just where visitors might enter. Call it insurance against any false accusations she might try to lob my way when backed into a corner. Then I started gathering what I needed. I pulled the old tent and camping gear out of storage. Stuff I hadn't touched in years. Borrowed a fold-up chair from my buddy. Dug through the garage for a cooler, some canned food. Even found a couple of cardboard boxes behind the liquor store dumpster on my lunch break, taped them up and cut them just right. During that time, her behavior got more obvious. Working late in outfits she'd never wear to her corporate job. Tight dresses, heels that weren't exactly office appropriate. Missing earrings, then finding them days later in her purse. Mysterious weekend workshops that her company website never mentioned. No problem, I'd say, without looking up from whatever I was doing when she'd text her late excuses. Take your time. The confusion on her face when she did come home was priceless. She expected begging, crying, fighting, something to justify her bullshit in her mind. Instead, she got a husband who suddenly seemed fine. Better than fine. Improving. It didn't fit her narrative of me as the pathetic, clingy spouse she needed to escape from, and I think she thought I was doing that to impress her or make her want me again. She started trying to pick fights, criticizing small things. How I loaded the dishwasher, the way I folded laundry, leaving a coffee mug on the counter. I'd just shrug and say, "You're right," or "Good point," and go back to what I was doing. It was driving her nuts. She'd try to escalate, and I'd just not engage. Like water off a duck's back. One night, she tested me. I might need to go on a business trip next weekend. Team retreat in the mountains. I'd already checked her work calendar that she'd left open on the laptop. Her company had nothing scheduled. Total lie. Probably planning a weekend getaway with her work wife. That's fine, I replied, not looking up from my book. Actually, I'll be away that Friday myself. Company event. Her eyes lit up. An empty house for her and her boy toy. Really? That's unfortunate timing, she said, barely hiding her excitement. These things happen, I responded, turning back to my book where I was actually researching apartments. Already had 3 viewings scheduled for the next day. That weekend would be her grand finale, though she had no idea. She thought she was planning a hookup. In reality, she was walking straight into consequences. The week leading up to Friday was surreal. We moved around each other like actors in a play, pretending everything was normal. She seemed almost giddy, planning her business trip. I noticed her buying new lingerie, hiding the bag in her car trunk, ordering expensive face masks and bath products online. Real business trip essentials. I kept my cool. Lined up an apartment, nice place downtown, walking distance to work, double the rent but worth every penny for the freedom. Signed the lease on Wednesday. Started moving essential items bit by bit when she wasn't home. Important documents, irreplaceable family photos. Clothes I actually cared about. She never noticed. Too caught up in her own plans. When Friday came, I made a show of packing, kissing her goodbye, and driving off. Have a good weekend, I said. Don't work too hard. She practically pushed me out the door, already texting her retreat updates to her boss. Instead of going to my fictional company event, I circled back and parked a few blocks away, then snuck in through our side gate. The neighbor's kid saw me, but I just put my finger to my lips and winked. Kid gave me a thumbs up. Always knew that little dude was cool. From the guest room window, I had a perfect view of our driveway. I'd already cleared out most of my essential stuff over the past week. Important documents, family heirlooms, irreplaceable photos. And at 3 p.m., I started setting up on our front lawn. Small one-person tent, bright blue, impossible to miss. Made sure to position it for maximum visibility from the street. Sleeping bag unrolled and laid out neatly next to it. My old camping pillow at the top. A lone chair facing the street. Cardboard boxes arranged into a makeshift shelter with a small door cut out, reinforced with duct tape for that authentic homeless vibe. And basic toiletries arranged like some kind of homeless minibar. The final touch, a professionally printed sign staked in our perfect suburban lawn. Homeless by choice. She'd rather be homeless than pretend in bed. By 5 p.m., neighbors were noticing. Some taking pictures, others whispering among themselves. One of the neighbors from across the street actually came over with a plate of cookies, confused but concerned. "Everything okay, dear?" she asked, eyeing my setup. "Just a visual demonstration," I explained calmly. "Is this some kind of charity thing?" she asked, bewildered. "You could call it that." I sat calmly in the lawn chair, scrolling through apartment listings, occasionally waving at passing cars that slowed down to gawk. Even took a few selfies with my setup, for posterity. My phone blew up with texts from friends seeing pics of my setup online. Our neighborhood Facebook group was apparently on fire. I ignored them all. This moment wasn't about social media attention or drama. This was about consequences. Then a car I didn't recognize pulled up. Silver BMW. Tinted windows. Through the windshield, I watched my wife's face transform from confusion to absolute horror as she realized what was happening and who was sitting in that lawn chair. She jumped out, face twisted with rage and embarrassment. Her boy toy sat frozen behind the wheel, trying to process the scene. The look on her face was worth it. "What the hell are you doing?" she hissed, trying to keep quiet, even though she was furious. Neighbors were already watching from windows and porches. I stayed seated. I'd dressed nice for the occasion. New jeans, button-up shirt, freshly trimmed beard, and most importantly, hit myself with a couple sprays of Creed Aventus. Because considering she once said she couldn't stand the way I smelled, today I smelled like money, freedom, and consequences. Funny how that works. Looked exactly like someone who wasn't homeless. "Just honoring your wishes," I said calmly. "You said you'd rather be homeless than stay married, so I made sure you had the setup to match." I didn't go into details. Her lover finally got out of the car but kept his distance. Younger dude than me. Expensive suit that looked ridiculous in this scene. Slicked back hair, designer watch. Classic middle management trying to look executive. He looked like the kind of guy who spent more time on his Instagram than on actually developing skills. "Is this some kind of joke?" she demanded, looking around at the neighbors who weren't even pretending not to watch anymore. "Not at all," I replied, standing up. "You've lost your mind," she sputtered, face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "On the contrary," I said. "I finally found clarity. Amazing what happens when you actually pay attention." Her lover finally stepped out of the car, slow and unsure, like he realized too late he'd walked into something way above his clearance level. He looked between us, clearly rattled. "What's going on here?" I finally turned to him, gave him a once-over, then smirked. "You must be the work wife." He didn't say a word. He looked from the sign to her, realization dawning slowly across his face like a bad sunburn. "You said you were in an open relationship," he said, backing away. "You said your husband knew about us and was cool with it." "She lied," I informed him cheerfully. "Just like she lied to me for months. Actually years, according to her recent confession." By now, several neighbors had gathered, phones recording everything. Bill from next door had actually brought out lawn chairs for himself and his wife, like they were settling in for a show. My wife noticed them, her face cycling through emotions. Rage, humiliation, panic, back to rage. "Get inside," she hissed. "We need to talk about this privately." "No," I replied simply. "We're past private talks. You've discussed our intimate life with your friends, your lover, probably your coworkers. Privacy is off the table." Her lover was already heading back to his car. "I don't need this drama," he muttered, practically running now. "You told me he was okay with this." "Wait," she called after him, desperation in her voice. "He's just trying to embarrass me. We can go somewhere else." But the car door slammed, and her escape plan drove away, tires squealing slightly as he rounded the corner, leaving her alone to face what she'd created. She turned back to me, switching tactics instantly. Tears appeared in her eyes. The fake ones I'd seen countless times when logic wasn't on her side. The same tears that appeared when I caught her spending $800 on a purse while claiming we couldn't afford car repairs. "Please," she whispered. "Let's go inside and talk about this like adults." "I am being an adult," I replied. "I'm communicating clearly, just like you did. Here's your cardboard suite." I held up a folder. And here are the divorce papers, already filled out. Just need your signature. The tears vanished, replaced by cold fury. You think you can humiliate me like this and get away with it? I gestured at the neighbors recording everything. I think I already have. But more importantly, you humiliated yourself. I'm just providing the audience you wanted when you discussed our intimate life with others. She lunged for the folder. I sidestepped easily. Those gym sessions were paying off. These papers represent your freedom, I reminded her. Freedom from pretending with me. Isn't that what you wanted? I'll ruin you, she threatened. I'll take everything in court. I'll tell everyone you were abusive. I actually laughed at this. With what leverage? The evidence of your affair is with my lawyer. Your verbal abuse is being recorded by our neighbors. And that cardboard suite? It's a physical manifestation of your own words. Fear flashed in her eyes as she realized she'd cornered herself. The manipulator was gone, replaced by someone seeing real consequences. Our neighbors had formed a semicircle, watching everything. Some friends had arrived too, adding to the audience. Her friend Jen was there, looking uncomfortable as hell. You planned this? She accused, voice shaking. You set me up. I planned a response, I corrected. You set yourself up when you decided cheating was acceptable. One of our mutual friends, Dave, approached. What's happening here? Before I could answer, my wife jumped in. He's lost his mind. He's trying to throw me out, humiliate me. Actually, I interrupted, pulling out my phone, showed some of her tamer texts with her lover. I'm simply honoring her preference, I explained, and providing consequences for her affair. Dave's eyes widened. He backed away from my wife and stood near me, a clear shift of loyalty that everyone noticed. Several other friends did the same. The court of public opinion was in session, and the verdict wasn't looking good for her. This is illegal, she shouted. You can't kick me out. Half of this house is mine. I'm not kicking you out, I clarified. The house is equally yours. You're welcome to go inside. But your lover just bailed, and I've moved to a new apartment. This, I gestured to the cardboard setup, is just a visual aid for your own words. She realized I was always one step ahead, that I'd planned for this moment meticulously. You've been spying on me? Going through my phone? She demanded, trying to flip the script. Long enough to know the truth, I replied. Long enough to protect myself. She stormed toward the house and slammed the door, but the damage to her reputation was done. That night, in my new apartment I'd rented weeks ago, I slept better than I had in months. The weeks that followed were surprisingly calm. The divorce papers were served officially. She tried calling, texting, even showing up at my office once, cycling through anger, tearful apologies, and finally, resignation. Her social media went dark after the lawn incident blew up locally. Too many questions. Too many people who knew. Her sister actually reached out to me, apologizing for encouraging the affair. Apparently, she'd been fed a very different version of our marriage. The divorce went through quickly, helped by the mountain of evidence. She lost our mutual friends as her lies unraveled. Her lover had ghosted her completely. Turned out he was married too, something she either didn't know or didn't care about. His wife found out during the fallout and left him. Even her family started keeping their distance, especially after they heard the recordings. 3 months later, it was final. House sold, assets split fairly. I kept my business. She moved to another state, starting over where her reputation hadn't preceded her. As for me, I didn't jump into a new relationship right away. Didn't need to. For the first time in years, I was making choices solely based on what I wanted. Peace, space, my self-respect back, control over my own life again. The gym became my therapy. The project car got finished. 69 Camaro, nothing fancy but mine. Started playing guitar in a local band on weekends. Reconnected with old friends. Made new ones. Sometimes I wonder if the cardboard box was overkill, if the public display was too much. But in those moments, I remember her laughing on the phone about me, describing me as some pathetic figure to her sister while I paid the bills, supported her dreams, and tried to be a good husband. And I sleep just fine. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into her friend Jen at a coffee shop. She barely recognized me. Down 30 pounds of fat, up 15 of muscle, standing straight, dressed well. You look amazing, she said, clearly shocked. I feel amazing, I replied honestly. She hesitated, then asked, Do you regret it? The way it ended? I thought about it for a moment. I regret not valuing myself sooner. I regret accepting less than I deserved for so long. But the ending? Number. That was exactly what needed to happen. She's not doing well, Jen offered, though I hadn't asked. Lost her job. Dating some guy who's not great. That's unfortunate, I said, meaning it. Despite everything, I didn't wish her ill. But we all make choices. As I was leaving, Jen called after me. For what it's worth, most of us are on your side. What you did took guts. It wasn't about sides, though. It was about boundaries, about consequences, about refusing to be anyone's doormat or ATM or emotional punching bag. A year after the cardboard suite incident, I was dating casually, but not seriously. My business was thriving, up 40% since I could focus completely on it. I'd just gotten back from hiking the Appalachian Trail with my brother, something I'd wanted to do for years, but had always put off. The best revenge isn't losing your shit. Sometimes it's a cardboard box on the front lawn, symbolizing exactly what someone said they wanted. Be careful what you wish for. Some of us are listening,